Try this one more time. One more time. Hey guys, it's Lamorn. I wanted to walk you through my new single, Metrics. Show you kind of how I made it, both creatively and on the engineering side of things. So let's get started. I started with some chords. I play them for you. Kind of a common way I start songs is by just playing with chord sequences, trying to fit things together until they feel like something that that makes sense as like a kind of a musical idea. Either that, or I'll start with a beat and try to add things on top that feel like they don't muddy things up, stuff like that. But in this instance, I started with chords. And let's see, adding the kick drum. Once I have the chords, I usually start adding the drums, or at least a kick drum. So I added the kick drum, and then these chords kind of sounded boring, so I turned them into like a plucky dotted eighth note. Dotted eighth note, like compressed pluck sound, and together. So that right there kind of has been the basis of this track the whole time. Once I had that, it was just kind of experimenting with putting things on top, little lead parts, extra drum pieces and stuff. And so from there, I started experimenting with some like choppy things. I chopped up a few other things before I got to my final destination, but I thought I deleted all those just to keep it a little more organized in here. But I ended up sampling one of my own songs. I took the vocals off one of my past releases, Sleep, and which is Izzy's voice, really epic voice, and that sounds like this. And once I had that, it was kind of like, oh wow, all right, this is cool. And I had all these vocal chops in here, as you can see, or if you can see, down. These are all my vocal chops, down where my mouse is, and I'm gonna close this. So lots of vocal chops, lots of ways I could have done it, but. So I just kind of ended up laying out this whole thing. And after I had that, the track was kind of like, okay, this is pretty decent. So that's the whole thing. But once I had all that, I started adding some percussion bits. I took this little percussion loop out of a sample pack I have and kind of cut it up so that it was doing a slightly polyrhythmic thing. And I think adding little things like that can kind of be cool because you get out of the like just pure eighth note grooves. So that sounds like this. So that little snare thing is happening every, I don't know how long, but every, it's not on the eighth note every time, which I think kind of adds some good variation to your beat. And then I of course have a basic hi-hat. Moving on to the snare, I layered 2 bits. I have like a clap and a more punchy. So here's the more punchy side. It's then adding the clap on top of that. That kind of gives it a little more, or gives the snare a little more depth, a little more interesting. I don't know, makes it so that the song sounds more professional overall, I'd say. But yeah, once I had all those pieces, it was just kind of a matter of copying and pasting across the screen and taking different things out, adding different things in. In the bridge middle interlude part, I guess you could call it, I wanted to change up the chord sequence, so you weren't just hearing the same thing over and over and over and over and over. So I think that, let's see, up here, I just started with the plucky chords right off the bat. That chord sequence is a little less poppy, I'd say, than the first one, and I liked that. I liked how it kind of went from something a little more normal to something a little weirder. Added some nice variation and stuff like that. And then over that, I thought adding a lead would be a good idea. So I added, where is it? My organization is not perfect. Okay, there we go. So that lead having the big reverb on it, I thought that was kind of cool, because nothing else in the song really has like a big whooshy reverb type thing, and this melody kind of has 2 parts. And I did that, I think the reason I did that was because the note from the first, or the note from the end of the first part of the melody didn't work with the last chord. So I was like, oh, I guess I just gotta change it. So I did. And then comes the big drop. So I built it up. Started bringing out the bass. And for this second, the second drop build, I guess you could still kind of call it the bridge because it has the same chords as the interlude. I wanted to bring it down so that I had more headroom to keep bringing it up and keep building. So I started from scratch with the vocal chops and just wanted to do something a little less intense. So just kind of droning on one note, going between 2 different samples. I like the sound of that. And bringing down the cutoff on the chords. That's kind of my main tension builder through the whole song, is the cutoff on the plucky chords. So like you can hear. So it goes from like way open to super closed, tiny plucks. And then throughout this little part here, keeps getting bigger. Yeah, I could add everything in, I guess. But yeah, in the second half, I add in that last melody, the first vocal chops, to kind of start bringing back the original idea, and then from there, I go back to pretty much exactly what the first part was, with a couple extra little pieces to have some more things going on around your ears. And if you compare that it's pretty much the same thing, from the second part of the first dancey thing to the second part of the second dancey thing. Both kind of bringing the idea, or going back to the central idea of the song. And these two vocal chops, I thought they kind of went well hand in hand. So I kind of count them both as like the first part. But from there, bringing it back down again. I started bringing in this arpeggiator thing to kind of add to the 16th note, like. I didn't add that. I think this was the last thing I added to the track. These three things in here were kind of like extra textures I wanted to add. Right in there, kind of extra textures I wanted to add, because I had the whole thing finished in this same form, but it was just missing some like extra ear candy type things. So with my mini log, it's over there, my little analog synthesizer, I added some cool like and I like that arpeggiator so much, I just decided to put it through the whole song. So I had it come in the interlude with that different chord sequence, and then again in the outro to kind of it's not building, but it's not like dropping all the way down. So it's kind of a build, a closing build. Then the nice outro that's just basically some very minimal drums and back to the first chord sequence. Closing the filter cutoff down to almost 0 at the end. It's a nice way to just kind of close it. Closing the filter, closing the song. I don't know. I never went over the intro. It's pretty much just the chords, with a little extra thing that I never play through the rest of the song. And I took that original chord sequence and added that that little thing I made in the interlude, so it was kind of like the best of both worlds. That doesn't really make sense, but you know what I mean. Kind of the whole song in like one little chord sequence. So having that in the intro a good device to build with. And the extra little ear candies, and then building on, I had this little extra plucky sound that I was opening the cutoff again to build some tension, and then taking the drums, my drum bus here. I just took all the drums from the main part, took out most of the hi-hats and just high-passed them so that none of the lows were coming through, and I have all this room now in the low end to add in when I come in with the full thing. So here's kind of a sample of the drum, at least drum wise. Some delay. So everything kind of gets all mushed together. And then when it comes in, it's all nice and crisp and put together. So that's pretty much the whole song in a nutshell. And then I sent all of the synths to my main bus channel. And did a little bit of compression, sidechained it to the kick so that nothing was interfering with each other. The bass I kept separate because I needed to sidechain that a little harder so that it wasn't, because the bass frequencies with the kick and the bass, it can get really muddy if you don't do it just right. So you can hear the on each quarter note the bass is just like and but with the kick, you can almost hardly tell that that's happening because the kick is filling in those bass frequencies. And then for the drum bus, I like to put this this drum bus device on my drum bus channel. Makes sense. And then add some drive and dampening, and just to kind of squish it together a little more so that it's not all, or just so that it's more in one solid package rather than 8 separate tracks. Moving on to the master channel, I took out the ultra high frequencies and the ultra low frequencies that you won't even really hear, so that nothing is interfering with the with all the compression up after it. And then a little bit of compression here just to kind of glue things together again. That's kind of the same thing I did with the drum bus, or I guess I kind of mastered the drums separately and then put them into the master chain and master them again, just to master the whole song together. But yeah, so I took out the frequencies, a little bit of gluing, then I did a pretty heavy multi-band compression, and that's really the glue that's holding everything together. Makes it just adds evenness, and then I put another multi-band compressor after it. This one was more for controlling a couple levels and really making the low end punch nicely. Then for the limiting at the very end of everything, I need to turn that off. I didn't want to go too hard on the limiter on this song. This is probably the loudest part. I I wanted it still hitting the 0 mark, but I didn't really want it limiting too hard because it's kind of a more dynamic song. And if you like smash the limiter at the end, then it just sounds really distorted and kind of nasty. So get back to there. That's kind of the way I liked this song to be. I don't know. I do it differently for other songs. Some songs it's just completely crushing the low end and everything hitting on the chord note. But this isn't a super intense song overall. So yeah, that is the entirety of Metrics. Thanks for sticking around. I hope you enjoyed it, and yeah, see you guys later.